First class I'm going to be talking to you about is going to be the Owners and Managers Cycle Time class. Okay, it's going to be a number of subjects in the class. It's a day-long class. Usually starts about 8:30 and ends around 3 o'clock or so. Generally speaking, we want about 10 to 12 owners and managers in the class. Not too much more than that. The list of topics will vary. We'll spend more time on some of the topics depending on the class. First subject I'm going to talk about today within this Cycle Time Owners and Managers class is going to be numbers tracking and benchmarking. When I say numbers tracking and benchmarking, I'm going to talk about some national numbers, but what I really want you to track is the numbers against yourself. This month versus next month. What category do you want to improve? Are you measuring it now, and which direction do you want to go? We're going to talk about numbers and benchmarking such as your average RO. What's your average ticket in the shop? Right now the national average is running somewhere around $2,300 to $2,400. Okay, you could be more, you could be less. If you're a high-end shop doing a lot of high-end vehicles, you're certainly going to be more. If you're a dealership doing some internal work, you're probably going to be a little bit less. But we'll put some numbers against your particular average RO. Okay, we're going to talk about paint hours per RO. Okay, right now, nationally, we're getting about 8 paint hours per RO. You could be upwards of 10, you could be downwards of 6. What does that do to your numbers at the end of the month? We're going to talk about body hours per RO. Again, nationally, we're running somewhere right about 16 body hours per RO. Labor to sales ratio, parts to sales ratio. You may be a shop selling more labor. If your work in process is down, that's a good idea. If your work in process is high, you really want to try to keep your labor a little bit down more. Gets the cars through the shop a little bit quicker. Flag hours per day per RO. These are a couple of insurance company requirement numbers. I will tell you that insurance companies are looking for anywhere 4.5, 5 flag hours per day per RO. The average across the country is probably somewhere around 2.6. But the insurance companies on their DRP are looking for anywhere 4.5, maybe even 5 flag hours per day per RO. If the car comes in and is a 20-hour complete flag hour job, they want that job, if they're looking for 5 flag hours per day per RO, they want to know that that job is going to be done in 4 days. Cycle time. Not sure if you're tracking your cycle time, but this class will show you how to track your cycle times. National cycle times are 11 days, which is quite high. So you can get your shop down as low as 8, 7, even 6 days, 5 days for a $2,300, $2,400 RO for a cycle time, depending on your area and how quickly you can get parts. These are some of the basic numbers that we're going to be talking about. There will certainly be others. There's going to be some profitability numbers that we'll talk about. There'll be other benchmark numbers we'll talk about through the class, but these will be the basic main numbers we'll be talking about. Next topic we're going to be talking about is going to be within the marketing, insurance relations, consumer relations, DRP versus non-DRP. How are you getting your work? How are you getting your work from the insurance company? Are you marketing the insurance company? What are you doing to market the insurance company? What are you doing to market the insurance company different than all the other shops around you? Are you filling their needs, or are you just doing the same old thing everybody's doing to try to get work from an insurance company through their DRPs? Consumers. Do you have a grasp of the consumers in your area? Do you know a 3-mile radius, a 5, a 6-mile radius around your location? Are you familiar with the demographic? Do you know what kind of vehicles they drive? Do you know their income? Is this consumers you want to go after? Are you looking at cash out work? DRP, non-DRP. Are you tracking them separate? How much of your work is DRP? Is it profitable work? Is it as profitable as the non-DRP? What are you doing to get either or? Work to the door. How are you getting your work to the door, and are you tracking a close ratio? Increasing work to the door is one thing, but if you're losing it on close ratio, that's another. You have to work on both. Work to the door as well as close ratio. Another subject's going to be shop capacity. How big is your shop? How many body stalls do you have? How many paint stalls do you have? How many technicians? how many stalls per technician. Wasn't that many years ago we were running probably somewhere between 2 and 3 stalls per body technician. That number has come down. The less that number is, the less stalls you have per body technician, the more production you can actually put through your shop, so to speak. Booth capacity. How many vehicles do you have the ability to paint a day? Do you have enough booth capacity for your shop? Do you have too much booth capacity for your shop? How many painters are you running? Hopefully it's just 1 painter per booth, or maybe even sometimes 1 painter bouncing back between 2 booths. But what does your shop have the ability to put out in the course of a month? Take technicians out of it. What does the shop capacity have the ability to put out in numbers every month? Probably one of the biggest subjects, the most important subject, and really what the class is built around is going to be cycle time and flag hours per day per RO. Let's just take cycle time. Cycle time. I'm asked all the time, how do I increase the sales in my shop? I'm limited with my space, I'm a little bit limited with my lot. How do I increase my sales? I'm doing $100,000 a month now, I want to do $150,000 a month. Well, it's very simple. You decrease your cycle time. If you are running a 12-day cycle time, and we can get that cycle time down to 8 days, you alleviate 4 days. So for every 2 vehicles you do, you alleviate 8 days, which is your cycle time. Which means for every 2 vehicles you do, you can do 1 more vehicle without adding a technician and without leaving the lights on for 1 more minute. Just by bringing your cycle time from 12 days to 8 days, which is doable, you actually increase your business 50%, again, without adding a technician, without working any longer. Nothing else changes, just the cycle times. You can do 50% more business. So it's going to become a big issue. Cycle times are probably one of the catchphrases out there right now. Everybody's talking about sort of a buzzword, and we're going to correlate that to flag hours per day per RO. Okay, because they do have something to do with one another. Though you can have great cycle times and poor flag hours per day per RO, and vice versa, we really want to kind of look at them together. The class is designed really around cycle times, and again, flag hours per day per RO. Within that cycle time and flag hours per day per RO numbers, I want to kind of break it down for you, just where we're really driving with the class. Again, the average RO is $2,400. The average RO in your shop, again, if you're a normal, everyday collision center doing insurance work, has about 16 metal repair hours. Generally speaking, about 8 paint hours, okay? For a total of 24 flag hours on the average ticket. There are areas in the country that run a little bit different, but these are some good averages for most of the local areas and nationally. That's 24 flag hours on the average RO. Most shops run, on average, about 150% labor efficient. Okay? Paint departments will run somewhere upwards of around 180, 190% labor efficient. Body departments down around 120, 125. But average through the body shop and paint department, all technicians running 150% labor efficient. That's 1.5 flag hours for every hour clocked. Okay? So that turns that 24 flag hours into 16 clock hours. That's only 2 days worth of work. We are running 11-day cycle times and only working on the car collectively 2 days. There's 9 days there of that car being untouched. Whether it's sitting in your shop or out on the lot, that's 9 days that car is taking up space on your lot, not being worked on, non-productive. That makes a large part of your shop non-productive. We're going to talk about doing some daily and monthly meetings. Not sure if your shop is actually doing any kind of production or release meetings through the day. There's a number of ways to do it depending on the size of your shop, whether you do it in one central location at a particular time, or you do it as a walkthrough, whether you have everybody there, whether you have just the heads of department there. We're going to talk about the best way to run a daily production meeting, again, depending on the size of your shop. If you have a well-run shop and you do some of the things we talk about in the class, such as shop layout, tear down, blueprint, you really could do your daily production meetings in a walkthrough. But again, Every shop's a little bit different. It doesn't matter to me which way you do it, as long as you're having some form of a daily production meeting or a walkthrough. I'd rather see it somewhere around 9 o'clock in the morning as opposed to 7 or 8 o'clock first thing in the morning. A lot of things change in the collision center in the first 2 hours of the day. So you're meeting at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. By 9, 10 o'clock, a lot of those things may have changed. So we really get a more effective meeting or walkthrough around 9, 9:30 in the morning as opposed to that 7, 7:30 in the morning. People are more in touch with their jobs as well. We're going to talk a little bit about monthly meetings and how do we utilize those. We utilize those more for appreciation, some of our numbers, how did we wind up in the month, things that we did well, maybe things we didn't do so well, things we need to work on, maybe equipment changes, but I think a monthly meeting is very important as well. Even if not a monthly, maybe every other month, some sort of an appreciation, group talk, whatever you want to call it, meeting through the course of each day, and then again one at the end of the month. Next subject we're going to talk about is going to be teardown and blueprint. Probably the other half of the class. Very important. I know shops say they're doing some teardown and blueprint, but are you really doing teardown and blueprint? When I say teardown and blueprint, I mean within the first 12, 24 hours of that car being in that shop, are you doing 100% teardown? Not a 90, not a 95, a 100% teardown. Everything soup to nuts. Whatever is going to be torn down during the repair of that car over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, all of it being done on day one. Discovery of the damage is so important on day one. We want to get those close ratios down, we want to get that supplement weight ratio down. We do way too much of our business on supplements. So this teardown is going to allow us to write a full, whether you want to call it supplement zero, estimate, blueprint, whatever it is, it's going to create one parts order for that vehicle and one blueprint. One set of rules and repair process for that body technician to go by. So we're going to talk about within day one, 12, 24 hours of that vehicle being on the premises, depending on the size of the hit, a full teardown and a blueprint. How do we blueprint the car? How are we taking that car in that body technician or a teardown stall and blueprinting it for the repair? Who's involved in that blueprint? Do we have a parts guy involved? Is the estimator involved? Is the technician involved? We need the right people involved so that everybody leaves that blueprint knowing exactly what is going to be done to repair that vehicle from start to finish. There's going to be no question on how many hours they're getting, what's being repaired, how we're repairing it, what's being replaced, what kind of replacement we're going to be doing on the vehicle. So day one, teardown blueprint is going to be the start of short cycle times. It's going to be a large part of the class. We're going to talk about scheduling delivery dates. Not only delivery dates, but metal out time as well. Again, every shop schedules delivery dates, but most shops don't reach their delivery dates. And what they do is they struggle so hard on their DRP work to meet a delivery date that they start leapfrogging that car as importance over other vehicles. So the delivery date of this vehicle makes it on time, but the delivery date of these other 2, 3, 4 vehicles now are 3, 4, 5, 6 days behind. So how are we scheduling our cars to be delivered? Every vehicle in your shop has a delivery date already attached to it the moment that car comes in the shop. We just don't know how to achieve that delivery date. So we're going to talk about setting a true delivery date to the customer for that vehicle when it's done. Metal out time. Very few shops schedule metal out time. Metal out time is basically when that car is scheduled to transition from body to paint. Very important, sort of a midway point, checkpoint on the vehicle. Your painters understand the vehicles they're going to get the next day, kind of keeps your body techs on track, allows the walk-through production meetings to be a little more visual. You can walk through the shop and know how vehicles are going to move. We're going to talk quite a bit about shop layout as well, being very visual. After the vehicles are torn down and blueprinted, where do we put them? Where do those cars sit until the parts come in? Does everybody understand that that section of the lot is for vehicles that have already been torn down or waiting on parts? What happens after the vehicle is initially repaired and ready to go to the paint department? Do we have a place for those vehicles where everybody in the shop and production and estimators know those vehicles are ready to go into paint? So we're going to talk a lot about shop layout and where these vehicles flow through your entire shop. Again, scheduling metal out time and information on the vehicle written on the windshield is going to be very important. That delivery date, that metal out time is going to be very important to mark down on the vehicles. We're going to talk about repair versus replace. Kind of an issue over the years in the shops. Understand that we sell labor. It's the largest part of our sales. We make the best gross profit dollars on labor, but there are times you want to look at gross profit dollars per labor hour as opposed to just gross profit dollars. There are times you want to write repair. There are times you want to write replace. Okay, I don't know if your shop keeps any kind of a production board. I don't know if you're tracking work in process, but all of that ties into whether or not you want to do repair, heavier repair on the vehicle, or heavier replace on the vehicle. We're going to talk pretty heavy about that as well. Next subject is going to be vehicle assignment. How do we know what technician can take this vehicle? How do we know the best technician to take this vehicle based on his ability, but based a lot on his work in process? If you're looking to maintain a certain amount of flag hours per day per RO, and you have one technician on one side of your shop producing you 100% labor efficiency, and another technician over on the other side of the shop producing you 170% labor efficiency, each one of those has a threshold based on you producing 4.5, 5 flag hours per day per RO. So every technician in your shop should have a threshold, should have an amount of vehicles he should be maintaining in process for you to maintain those numbers. If that technician maintains that amount of vehicles, then you will maintain those kind of flag hours per day per RO for the insurance company. We're going to talk quite a bit about WIP, work in process. Work in process ties into all of your numbers. Over the years, shops have just taken too many vehicles in. It's always been a get the keys, get the job, get the keys, get the job mentality out of the office. If somebody comes to the door, we want them. Well, if you're heavy DRP or even a small amount of DRP, those numbers could really hurt you and you could lose DRPs. In fact, it's probably one of the number one ways shops are losing DRPs is the numbers that they are maintaining, and they're based on work in process. Shop owners generally don't understand their work in process numbers and how it correlates to their cycle times as well as flag hours per day per RO. Work in process is very important. It's very important to track it a number of ways. Work in process per technician. How many vehicles does your technician have on average at any given time through the course of that month? Work in process against monthly sales. If you're doing $100,000 a month in sales, how much do you want on the floor, again, at any given time through the course of that month? Work in process is the number of vehicles on the floor. Okay, so we're going to look at work in process in your shop a number of ways, and that's going to drive a lot of those numbers. We maintain a lot of the numbers we have to run in a shop on work in process. We just don't know it. So within the class, you're going to learn to track your work in process, the right people in your shop knowing what your work in process is, and how to write estimates and schedule and take in vehicles based on that work in process. We're going to talk quite a bit about labor efficiency, technician labor efficiency individually, department labor efficiency, how efficient is your paint department, how efficient is your body department, and then shop labor efficiency. For each individual, how many hours are they flagging per hour that they clock? Do you pay a guy who is flagging 2.5 hours per hour clocked the same as you would pay a guy who's flagging 1 for 1, 100% labor efficient? So we're going to talk about the efficiency through the entire shop. How do you, as an owner or manager, increase your shop's labor efficiency? Most of it is generally not because of a lazy technician or a slow working technician. It really has a lot to do with the area he's working on, the vehicles he's working on, how many vehicles he's working on. There's a lot of ways the owner manager can manipulate the shop's labor efficiency. We're also going to talk about controlling redos through your technicians. How many redos does your shop do a month? You know, they say the average redo can cost a collision center about $400. Well, that's quite a bit of money when you look at what you actually retain off of the average $2,400 average RO. $400 is quite a bit of money. We overlook redos, kind of part of the industry, part of the business, but they can be controlled and they should be controlled. There's ways to control it. If you have to repaint a car, the car that you have to repaint as it's still wrapped in the booth or just outside the booth costs you a lot less than the car that you have to repaint for the same reason that you don't catch till it has been buffed, reassembled, put together, and sitting out front waiting for the customer. Those are two completely different redos. So we're going to talk quite a bit about controlling redos, eliminating redos, and what's the best way to track a redo through the course of the car being in the shop. So that's a good portion of the subjects we talk about within the Owners and Managers Cycle Time class. There is a lot of other things we're going to talk about, and the class kind of open for discussion, so we can go in any direction. Some of the other things are going to be pay incentives, pay plans, shop morale, where are we recruiting people from, hiring, firing, things like that, some internal stuff, maybe a little more administrative stuff, but that is a good portion of the subjects within the Owners and Managers Cycle Time class.